Shows like this are so meaningful to me, because if we can, just one listener out there cares really deeply about wanting to change your life, and I'll never know. I mean, you can call Abby Carruthers. I don't know, how do people find you?
You can call me 818-297-0267, or you can just go on our website.
And then in about 3 weeks, you're starting a new program called Wake Up with Abby on June 13th. You know what? We'll figure out how to get that number out there. Wake Up to Abby. So I love the concept of a conference call every day. I mean, if people could hear your voice every day, just for 15 minutes, I mean, literally start their day. And ladies and gentlemen, this comes from me coaching all these years. This comes from me being an athlete, is that when you're going to get good at something, you have to do it every day. Every single day you have to practice it. Think about the football players. They have 2-a-days. They practice every day the same play. So you were a dancer, right?
I was, yes, for a long time.
Yeah, and so you had to practice those moves, because if you see a dancer stumbling, it really turns the audience off. So you had to work hard for timing, for everything, energy, muscle, I mean, a million things. So same thing with losing weight. So let's get into it. What you do is help people with their subconscious mind.
Yes.
You really get into the cave. Guys, we have caves. Guys really go deep into the cave. What do women have? What do women?
We have a cave too. It's just very beautifully decorated.
Ours is not.
Soft.
Ours is cold and musty. It's ugly. I've been in the cave a few times. So let's start with the 4 things that we both understand. So you have the mental part. That's, you're listening to the show mentally. Hopefully some of you are taking notes. Then you have the emotional part. Then you have the physical part, and then you have the having a spiritual part.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so here's where we all break down. We all break down emotionally, right? We have a fight with our wife. The washing machine's broken. We just got a ticket. The cab's not running right.
Stubbed our toe.
You got fired by Uber. Got fired in your job. A million reasons why you're an emotional basket case.
Yeah. He's laughing.
What did Justin say? My wonderful producer cannot talk today, ladies and gentlemen, because he had a little dental surgery. But as soon as this emotional spark comes, we go, you know what? I'm going to have a candy bar. I'm going to do something that's off the reservation, right? That's completely out of touch with what we're trying to accomplish. Then it takes us sometimes 2 or 3 days to get back, or we never get back.
Or we don't. Or it takes us 2 or 3 months and we go, forget it. I've failed. There's no point now. I've gained all that weight that I lost back.
Failing is not caring. So is there failure? Yeah, there's a lot of people that really don't care.
Right.
How do you deal with the emotional part?
So, that's what we do. We teach people how to moderate their emotions. We teach people how to desensitize those triggers. What's happening is that the emotion is causing a response, and that the response is causing a physical reaction. And so the physical reaction depends on the association. So what that means is, if I have a reaction where when I was 5, every time I fell down and skinned my knee, my mom would give me an ice cream. And then I feel loved, I feel comforted, I feel protected. Then that's what's going to happen when I stub, when I skin the knee of my heart. When my emotions get skinned, I'm going to reach for an ice cream. If I associate family and a celebration with eating food, because let's face it, in America, all of our food is all of our celebrations are around food. All of our get-togethers are around food. And if we associate that with eating, then if I'm not allowed to eat that food, that means I can't celebrate.
No, I mean, you know what? I am the biggest rule breaker there, because that is an excuse that I've used all these years, and then bingo, I'll too much ice cream. It's like, it's weird, girl. It's like, how do I explain this? It's like, it's my birthday, it's your birthday, it's Justin's birthday, and it gives me a reason to overeat and oversweet, and What is that about?
I
need a shrink.
It's just your association, because before the age of 13, that's what you knew. At holidays, at celebrations, at good times, at bad times. We eat at funerals, we eat for commiserations, we eat, that's what we're taught from the youngest age, because that's our culture. And so what we have to do, what we at Love Weight Loss do, is we find your associations. What are your triggers? We talked about triggers a little bit. What are your triggers? And then number one, we desensitize those. So instead of that usual trigger reaction, when I get upset, I reach for an ice cream because I'm used to skinning my knee and getting ice cream. Well, now we create a new process. We create a new system. Well, when I skin the knee of my emotions, I go for a walk. Or I go and sit and scream in my car. Or I write about my feelings. Or I text the person that I'm mad with.
But this is what you help people with.
Absolutely.
Instead of turning to old behavior, the old damaged file, they have to create a new file. They have to create new habits, and in our first segment, we were talking about all these big marketing companies that want you to buy their food. They for some reason only want to sell you their food. Now, their heart's in the right place. I don't want to be negative and knock anybody, but it takes a mentor like yourself. I know it sounds like a commercial. I don't mean it to be, Abby Carruthers. CHT. What does CHT stand for?
Certified hypnotherapist.
Oh, wow. So you're licensed?
There is no license, but the highest thing you can get is a certification from a state approved board.
Wow.
And so that's what I have.
CHT. Abby Carruthers, CHT. So you hold people's hands. You don't really hold their hands, but emotionally.
I will if they need me to.
Yeah, but emotionally, people need support. They need a mentor, a coach. They need somebody to show them this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So on the emotional side, you help them develop a new trigger, so to speak.
Correct.
Right? Let's go to the mental side.
Yeah.
To me, mental is doing your research. You're a researcher.
Absolutely.
You absolutely are a researcher.
Yes.
Most people won't put the effort in to do discovery. Most people won't, I'm too tired, I've worked hard, I don't know, there's a million excuses. But the mental game has to be sharp.
Has to be. My practice is based in science, and I believe if science doesn't back it up, then don't speak it out loud. And so everything that we do is based on science and is based in research and research
studies.
So
it's okay to eat almonds, right?
That's what science says.
String cheese. I mean, I'm the protein guy. But that's how you've helped me lose weight. Is I'm cutting out all the foods that don't like me.
Right. And
and that's how I'm looking at it. That's my new trigger. It's like they don't like me.
Right. They don't.
And I don't want to associate with people that don't like me. No, I'm serious. I mean,
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. No, you're so right. And so mentally, we like to prep our students, and people have to know. You have to know about this stuff. You have to know why carbs are the enemy, and they're not really the enemy. But when we overeat, what happens to our body? That's what you got to know about.
Well, the wrong type of carbs turn into sugar that turns into fat.
Every carb turns into sugar.
Okay, but we know that.
Right, we know it.
But in the process of changing or making new habits, great, so that you can live longer, see your grandkids grow up, or whatever, you've got to tie it to something, don't you think? Don't you think you have to tie the purpose of wanting to change to something bigger than yourself?
Well, because if you don't have the motivation, then why are you going to do the hard work? And that's the thing, is that changing your behavior is always going to be hard work. So you have to have something driving you over that hump, right? Because it's a big hump. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. So
well, like I want to get in a bikini, so I've got to work, anyway. All right, so we got the emotional part. And, in an hour, we can't really get too deep. We're covering a lot of things. But maybe there's a word or phrase you'll hear Abby or myself say, and you'll go, that's interesting. All right, so the mental part we just discussed, and we discussed a little bit the emotional part. Now the physical part. Man, you got to work out. You got to do something every day. You got to keep your body moving for a million reasons, because there's chemicals that get released, endorphins, right? And those that is makes you feel, well, let me come from a different direction.
Yeah.
When you're investing in yourself, if you're walking 2 or 3 miles or doing something, you're making an investment in yourself. And that says, I love myself, I care about myself, and I respect myself. Right or wrong?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a huge proponent of exercise, but I also know that there's tons of studies that prove that exercise is not the only weight loss technique. You can't just exercise and hope to lose weight. So when it comes to the physical is the doing. It's the actual doing of the activity, right? So I usually relate it to a metaphor. So in order to develop a new behavior, you have to do that new thing so frequently and so consistently that it becomes a permanent program, right? In your mind, it becomes a permanent program. It becomes deeply rooted. It becomes a neural pathway in your brain, yes? It becomes one of those grooves in your brain that you can see.
It all has to come together. I mean,
Yes.
if you don't have a deep love for yourself or deep respect for yourself, it's not going to work.
Right. And so you have to do a behavior because you love yourself consistently enough that it becomes permanent, right? So we have examples of this. We have physical examples of that. And one of those is driving, right? When you first learned how to drive, you didn't know what you were doing. You were learning everything
You
from
speak
scratch.
for yourself. I knew what I was driving at 12 years. I was driving cars at 12 and 13.
But before that, you didn't know what you were doing. You had to go through a process of learning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had to learn. You had to physically think about how to put on the blinker, how to turn the steering wheel, how to put your foot down. It's very, 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 very conscious. You're thinking about it so hard when you first begin to drive, but then you do it so consistently that all of a sudden it becomes automatic. All of a sudden, just one day, you're no longer thinking about
time out. We're talking about
driving.
the physical part. What I'm
Yes.
saying is that you have to make an investment in this body. I mean,
Right.
your core muscles, I don't want to get into a big tangent, but man, oh man, take care of yourself.
Right, absolutely.
Really. I mean, just
Yeah.
take care of yourself. Don't make excuses. Losers make excuses. Losers make excuses. You can walk in front of your house. If you can't walk 10 feet, walk 5 feet, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, start. Don't be a loser. Don't make excuses.
No.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Okay,
Like
now
that Bob
spiritual.
Newhart.
So we said emotional, that's where we really break down. Mental, we're not being, we'll get into more mental in a second, because you said to me a couple weeks ago, Coach, you've got to change your focus. I was focused on food. I'm focused on health now. Okay, now we just talked about the physical part. Now the spiritual part, boy, to me that's the biggest part, the spiritual part. And so you're on my committee. I need a little committee. God's on my committee. You're on my committee. My wife's on my committee. My wife's she's the chairman of my committee. She really got my
absolutely.
face last night, boy. But if you have the right committee, and you know that your committee members have your best interest, it adds up. Their little voices add up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that you really have to find is that internal voice. So some people call it the God within. Some people call it your intuition. Some people call it your guidance system, your navigational system. But that voice knows what's right for you.
It's okay to ask for help. I mean, it's okay to ask your spouse, hey, if you catch me, stop me. I mean, really.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sometimes you have to engage. Do you know that there's a study that shows that about 60% of our population are people who will only do something if there's accountability for it? About 60% of the population will only do something if they are being held accountable for it. And so you have to create that accountability system for yourself. And so if that's your wife, great. If that's a coach, great. But there has to be someone. That's a large percentage of the population.
You're listening to the voice of Abby Carruthers right here in Santa Clarita, and I'm telling you, I don't know how they're going to get a hold of you. How can they look you up? Where would they?
Sure.
Where do they look Abby Carruthers?
Yeah. Why don't you check out our?
How about
website?
Facebook? Why don't you go on Facebook?
Sure. Yep. Find me on Facebook. Add me as a friend. ABI is how you spell Abby, and then CARUTHERS. Abby Carruthers.
She can really help you change your life. If you are way overweight, if you're just a few pounds overweight, and the benefit, I think, of working with you is that you're so intuitive and creative. I mean, you said basically one sentence to me, and I got it. And all these years I've been focused on the wrong thing, you know? So now, food is important for me to live properly, but it's not going to make me happy. It's not going to do all the things that I was doing before, making me fat, because certain foods did not like me.
Right. I have a good friend who works in weight loss. He's an NLP trainer.
Chips don't like me. No, they don't. They really don't like me.
They don't like you.
No.
And he talks about, we frequently refer to food as comfort food. And he says, well, how do you feel after you eat it? Do you feel comfortable or do you feel uncomfortable? He says we should start calling it discomfort food, because not only do you feel full, do you feel sick, do you feel gross, but you also feel guilty, you feel remorseful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really. That's the part where I think you come in, Abby Carruthers, is that if people could understand that that 17 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever you think is pleasurable, it's hours of misery, and you know it.
Days, weeks.
Really, and so I'm doing better. I'm really proud of myself that I'm doing better of not breaking down from emotion. And it's like you said. So, if like today, I had protein shake for lunch.
Good for you.
And I had other options. But the mental part of me and the emotional part of me were in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through your help.
Aww.
Abby Carruthers, that's her name. And you can find her on Facebook. If we give her a number, I can give you a number out. I don't know.
818-297-0267.
You might think about getting a 661 area code. Why don't you could have multiple numbers?
About it.
Why? What? We're in the 661.
I know.
No, when you say 818, then people don't think you're permanent.
Right. People think I'm in the Valley. I do have an office in the Valley because that's where I started, but I live out here now.
It's a we're how do I want to say this? We're provincial. We like working with local people.
It's true.
So people knew you were local, especially in Santa Clarita Valley.
It is true.
When you look at the future of, it's sad, but I was going to say, when you look at the future of eating in this country, it's getting worse, not better. Why?
Programming, unfortunately, because we eat the way that we were programmed to eat as we grew up. We do what we know, and we teach what we know. So we eat the way that our parents taught us, and it's not their fault, they just didn't know. And then we teach our kids to eat the way that we eat, and then they teach their kids to eat the way that they eat. And it just is it's a cyclical thing. It's a never-ending story until you make that conscious decision to rewrite your program and change.
We've got to figure out a better system. I mean, there's only one of you, and you're so successful right now. I mean, you can only really take on a couple more clients. But
well, I have a team. I have a team of hypnotherapists who I've trained to work with me in our business. So we all do what I do. I've duplicated myself so that more people have access to it.
All right. Her name is Abby Carruthers. The show is called The Business of Life, and you'll hear more about Abby Carruthers. I'm going to have her on, and she's also thinking about doing her own show too. And she has Wake Up with Abby. We'll figure out how to get you that conference call number. I think that's a game changer. I love that concept that you're doing, because people, if they hear you just for 15 minutes every day, I'm telling you, from my experience of coaching, being an athlete, this is the game changer. When they hear your voice. They hear your voice. So when they go and are challenged with something about overeating, they're going, oh, Abby said, let's take a walk.
Absolutely. Yeah, techniques and tools. And
all right, we're going to come right back and talk about the one thing that's hard for me to understand, and that's why, well, I don't want to break it down for you. We'll come right back on the show we call The Business of Life, KHTS, AM 1220. I'm so honored that you take your time to listen to the show we call The Business of Life. I'm the coach, Coach Ron Tunick. You can find me on CoachTunick.com. If you're not a conservative, you're not going to like my website, so I'm just a disclaimer. Don't go to the site, CoachTunick.com. If you're not a conservative, you're not going to like it. So today, her name is Abby Carruthers, and she's a hypnotherapist right here in Santa Clarita, and has done a heck of a job for the coach. I lost 12 pounds. Not so much, it's more about her talking with me, not at me. It's more about her helping me get in touch with certain deep things that I've had going on over the years. I was poor, really poor, didn't have food in the house, and that led to me being obese, but that's another story. So let's give our listeners 3 tips, 3 really good tips.
Absolutely.
For those of you that are, you're overweight, you're struggling, you're frustrated. This is the lady, I'm telling you, she's so gentle, she's so caring, and that's why you practice. I mean, it ticks me off that you're this successful. I can never get a hold of you. You're always... No, you're laughing. I don't like that. I mean, you go from 8 in the morning to like 10 at night. People are flocking to you, darn it. I never get a chance. We have our little coffee at Starbucks, and that's about it. That's all I get.
That's on my schedule.
But your few minutes with me has been a life changer. All right, give me 3 tips.
Sure. Number 1, you have to be aware. So much of our eating is subconscious, and so the way that you begin to be aware is by tracking. Now, not tracking as a judgment, because when you track as a judgment, you're using it as a tool for punishment. That's not what. That's not going to help
aware
you.
of what, though? What?
Aware.
When I look in the mirror, I'm aware of it.
Aware of your carbohydrates. How many carbohydrates are you eating? So, download an app called MyFitnessPal. And just go ahead and start tracking your food right away, and you will be amazed at how many carbohydrates are going in your body.
My wife's taught me how to read labels. So for the first time in my
Right.
life, I understand the relationship between carbs and fiber. And anyway, okay, so
Right.
number 1, be aware.
Number 1, be aware.
Number 2.
Number 2 is take a deep breath.
Okay.
Sometimes all we need is to take a step back when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling really emotional. Sometimes all you need is just a little time out. For some of my students, I have them set a timer twice a day for 1 minute. All they're allowed to do is breathe. That's it. They're not allowed to check their phone. They're not allowed to think. They just focus on their breath in and focus on their breath out. And it's like a little refresh. So just take a breath. You got to pause. You got to think.
How's that going to help you lose weight? I don't get that part.
Because when you're emotional, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to reach for the carbohydrates.
Chocolate.
So when you take a breath, you have
M&Ms.
an option to make a choice.
Okay, that makes sense. We'll have to talk about that off the air. Okay,
Okay,
third tip.
Third tip is ask yourself, what are you hungry for? Your body is very, very smart.
I'd love to see the Dodgers. I'll tell you what I'm hungry for. I'd love to see the Dodgers go on a winning streak. I'd love to see them win like 15 games in a row. I'm so sick of the new San Francisco Giants. Do you even know about baseball in America? Okay.
I do. I know about baseball and America, too.
So what's the third
actually.
tip? What's the third
Third tip is, what are you hungry for? So yes, you may be craving sugar because sugar is the strongest drug, but you might not actually be hungry for sugar. Maybe you're thirsty. Maybe you need some protein. Maybe you need some energy. What are you hungry for? It's not always going to be carbohydrates. Maybe you need a nap. Maybe you're hungry for more rest.
Such a great question. No,
Right?
I wish we had another hour. Will you come back? Because
I would love to.
What you're hungry for is a big philosophical issue, because a lot of people are lonely. A lot of people are in bad
Hungry for
relationships. A
comfort,
lot of people
for
hate their
love,
boss. A lot of people
acceptance.
had a root canal
Yes.
and they can't eat today, like Justin, and he's going to overeat tomorrow. I guarantee you, if I follow Justin around tomorrow, he's going to overeat. Yeah, absolutely. That's what he said. Absolutely. So what are you hungry for? Wow, I'm hungry to have a flat belly and have all my buddies quit teasing me. I'm so tired of my buddies teasing me about my little Santa Claus belly. The rest of me looks good. I mean, I'm hot. I mean, I lose that belly, and I'm telling you what, look out, just look out. But I'm just tired of being teased,
Yeah.
And
So acceptance, approval. It's just people that just quit ragging on you.
Yeah, I really, I'm just worn down, and I know they mean well, but I know you said, I don't want to get into it. Maybe when you come back, we'll talk about it, because something happened a couple of weeks ago. I was there when it happened. And, when somebody says something to you, they think they're helping you, but Yeah, we'll save that for the next show. We'll save that. Yeah.
You're cute.
Yeah. All right. So the show is called The Business Live. Abby Carruthers. Remember the name. You can find her. I don't know. How do they find Abby Carruthers?
Find me on Facebook. You can call me. You can look up our website, Love Yourself, Love Weight Loss.
Love Yourself. That's the. What's your website?
LoveYourselfLoveWeightLoss.com.
Well, we have to work on that. I don't know if I like that. Love Yourself Weight Loss. That's the whole
Love
site.
Yourself, Love
Love
Weight
Yourself Weight Loss.com. That's the whole site.
Love Yourself, Love Weight Loss.
Love Yourself, Love Weight Loss. Wow,
.com.
that's a lot of words. Abby Carruthers, just remember the name. Check her out. The show is called Business Life. So honored that you would listen.
Thank you so
I'll
much
see
for
you
having
soon.
me.
Thank you. Well, you'll be back many times.
Yes, appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you down the road.